This is Rob Tobin for Boxing Social in association with Betfred. I'd say I'm delighted, but I'm seeing so much of you lately that I'm not sure that's the case. But I'm down here with Shane McGUIGAN. How are you, Shane?
Good, thanks, mate. It was last week, wasn't it? Last week down here. Obviously, the media workout today. Good press turnout for Josh Taylor ahead of his box office fight against Prograis on October 26th. So, yeah, I'm sure you got some nice little videos of him training and some magical pad combinations. But now it's all going well, mate.
I certainly did. When you have like a media workout or an open workout, I know some trainers can be a little bit superstitious about showing their hand, so to speak. Does that ever come into your mindset?
Yeah, I mean, like we wouldn't work on. I don't really talk about tactics and stuff, but we program combinations, and it's something that you got ingrained throughout the. I mean, he could probably pick up on a few things that we were doing today and what shots we were targeting, but there's one thing sort of seeing it, and there's another thing trying to like adapt to it. And obviously the intensity that is coming in with Josh, he's so quick that. People will always, when they're on the outside, say, "Oh, I'm going to do this and this with him," and then when they actually get in there, they think, "Oh shit, he's a lot sharper than expected." And yeah, I mean, we go through the motions, but it's you need to give them something. You can't give them nothing. And I see, some of those trainers that sort of don't do anything. It's a little bit disrespectful to the media. They've made the effort to come down 2 hours down the outside of London, so you got to give him a bit of a showing.
Well, we do appreciate that. Speaking on behalf of the media, there's nothing worse than coming 2 hours down the line and seeing people skip or shadow box. But yeah, so thank you very much for that. So we are just over 2 weeks away now. What is going to happen between now and fight night? As I understand, he's still got sparring to come this week. Talk to me a little bit about the process between now and getting him fight night ready.
Well, we done a 12 yesterday, sparring. And then we're going to do a 12 on Friday. We'll do 10 rounds, or don't know. Might call it at 8 to 10 rounds on Monday, and then we'll do an 8-rounder on Thursday. And then in between we'll be doing punching sessions. We stop his strength training next Thursday week as well. And then everything else after that is just ticking over. But he's on weight. You can see with his weight now, he's only 10.6, 10.7, so he's only a few pounds over. And that's a bit of water and a bit of food. And he's looking really, really sharp. So it's just about keeping sure there's enough in the tank. This is a hard week. Next week, the first couple of days are hard, and then it's tapering, and then obviously we do our last punching session on a Monday of fight week, and I open the lungs up and feel like you're just about to start getting going in a session, and then just taper it down. So it's monitoring it, but the good thing about Josh is I've had him since the amateur, since he turned pro, and I know how his body works and how he ticks, and it's always it takes a bit of time to get used to people and then get used to you and stuff like that. So like, for instance, Lawrence was used to doing strength training on the week of a fight, and I would tell him no. So good thing is that this is our second fight together with Lawrence, so it just takes a bit of time. Luke obviously took some time as well. He was coming in different weights than what he's used to, and but yeah, the good thing about Josh is he's done it 15 times. This is the 15th time now, and we've kind of perfected it.
Mentioned having him since he turned over and kind of working with him or having an eye on him when he was an amateur. Yeah. Could you have envisioned the fact that you'd be headlining Sky Sports box office, unification bout, Ring Magazine title? Could you have ever thought that back then?
Not after 15 fights, I would have said maybe 20, 25 fights or something. But the thing is it doesn't matter how good these kids are as an amateur. There's a handful of talents out there, but really, how are they going to adapt? How are they going to learn? Do they have the ability to pace themselves over 12 rounds? Some of them can look brilliant for 3, and then with the smaller gloves on, getting hit with the horsehair gloves on, and just a solid pro that's sort of creeping forward and heavy on the inside and sort of whacking shots in. You just don't know how they're going to adapt. Amir Khan's Frankie Gavin's a prime example. Amir Khan looked like he wouldn't be suited to the pros, but then he did so well in the pros. Frankie Gavin, you would have said he'd have done better than he did. and that's just it. You know, Tony Jeffries is another example. He looked very heavy-handed in the amateurs and didn't materialise in the pros. So it's hard to tell. Sometimes they can surprise you. But you know, when I had Josh in straight away, I thought, okay, we need to work on his power. I need to get him to sit down a little bit longer, hold his feet a little bit more on the inside, because he was so quick, and he always beats people to the punch anyway on the inside, and I'm just trying to develop his power. And then, you know, but I mean, before that, as an amateur, Terry did a great job with him up in Loch End, and he was sparring 8 rounds with Ricky Burns, and that in itself is a good indicator of how good they're going to do as a professional if they can hold their own for the distance, you know, for eight rounds. And you know, he has surprised us all though. I mean, because he's come on a lot.
Considering the fact that you have had Josh since he turned professional, with the greatest of respect to George and Carl, people that you've obviously trained to world titles in the past, would this be your greatest achievement?
Well, I can't have Carl from the amateurs, you know. I mean, he had a couple of fights before he came to me, but yeah, I mean, Carl was a big achievement for me. You know, he was 2-weight world champion, and he was a guy that wasn't the number one even in Ireland. David Oliver Joyce was kind of like the number one guy, and John Joe Nevin and stuff like that. So that was a big achievement for me to get into unify a super bantamweight world title, and then become a 2-weight world champion. And obviously with George, you know, get him over the line. He always had the ability. But yeah, I mean, this is something that I believe the journey is only getting going with Josh, you know. And he's someone I'm really proud of the product that, you know, we worked together. We worked endless hours and tirelessly over the years to sort of perfect his craft, and he's really come into his own now. So yeah, it's definitely something I'm massively proud of. But I think, you know, I'd like to see him win this tournament. That's the most important thing, you know. Unify the titles is great. Win the Ali Trophy. I've never had a Ring Magazine champion, and you know, and once he does it, I believe he beats Ramirez. I think he beats Ramirez easy. So. Yeah, this is a harder fight than Ramirez, and I think this is literally it's the number 1 and the 2 division, and I think this is the hardest fight we got yet, and it's coming in his 16th fight.
Okay, just before I let you go, because we have done a lot of interviews recently, somebody commented on our last interview that I live under the ring in McGUIGAN's gym, which I thought was quite interesting. Yeah. Bit of a strange one, we'll sidestep that. Gennady Golovkin, so Derevianchenko, this past weekend, what did you make of the fight?
Well, I said that I thought Gennady was not on the slide, definitely past his best. He's not a shot fighter by any means, but you know, he's not the force that was just wrecking through the division a good 3, 4, 5 years ago. And Derevianchenko caused a lot of problems, hurt him a lot of times to the body throughout the fight. There was an argument for him to win the fight. I mean, I think the knockdown sort of swayed it at the start. You know, although it was a flash. Well, it wasn't really a flash knock. It was a pretty legitimate knockdown. People were saying it's flash, but I think that was what swayed the fight. But it was a great fight, and it's a tough one. I just want to see him bow out. You know, I wouldn't want to see him box Canelo, because he slowed that little. Those 2 fights with Canelo took a lot out of him. And you know, he's 36, 37, as we said last one, and I think, you know, Derevianchenko, even though he might have had 500 amateur fights or close to it, 450 or something like that, he was fresher in the pros, and he hadn't had as much miles on the clock. And yeah, he's improved as well. He's changed coach recently, I think, hasn't he? And he's under the same one as Jacob, so he's doing well. And he's a handful for anyone, really. You know, if Billy Joe Saunders, for instance, boxed him, he'd give him nightmares. And I think he's a real hard night's work. It was a tough fight at this stage of Golovkin's career, but he came through it, and maybe one more and then bow out. But you know, you can never really tell these guys. They're gonna go on until it's too late almost. But you know, his chin still holds up. It's just, you know, he was getting hurt with the body shots, and the pace of the fight was just. It looked like he was punching through water at times. He looked like he was really sort of trying to grind out rounds, and that is just unfortunately what happens with age, and athleticism goes a little bit, and so does your speed.
Ivan Baranchyk was on the undercard. Did you catch his fight?
I did see it, but he knocked the guy out in 4 or 5 rounds, didn't he? no, I didn't catch that one, but yeah, good to see him back and in winning ways, and I think he's still a force.
Just finally, before I let you run off, haven't actually spoken to you about Canelo Kovalev. If you could give me a quick breakdown on what you think will happen in that fight.
Kovalev, Yard. I mean, he won the majority of the rounds, but he looked like he was gassing. Yard was quite good at putting him under clever pressure, which is something that Canelo does and does really, really well. So, and I think, you know, once again, Kovalev's had, you know, close to 300 amateur fights, potentially 400 amateur fights. He's had a lot of hard fights with Ward, for instance, and then he lost afterwards to Barrera, wasn't it? Alvarez, yeah. And he's had some hard fights. And I think Canelo, even though he's naturally a middleweight or light middleweight, he's going to be too good for him. I think he'll just be a little bit fresher. And I mean, but Kovalev's really good at distance, really good at pumping out those straight shots. But I don't think Kovalev's power is anything more than Golovkin. So, and Canelo dealt with that pretty damn well. So I think it definitely favours the younger, fresher fighter. I can see him hurting him to the body and potentially stopping him late.
Okay, well, Shane McGUIGAN, always a pleasure to speak to you. Seems like it's every week now. I will see you next week. Next week? Week after? Week after next. Thanks for fight week. Thanks very much for speaking to Boxing Social. Catch up with you soon.
Appreciate it as always, mate.